Hi guys, this is Jean Holden, producer of the show, and I just wanted to take a minute to let you know where you can find us on the internet. Please go to ThatMan on Fatman.com. There you can find out all the things you need to know about the show. You'll be able to find links to the podcast, to YouTube, to Twitter, Facebook, even Instagram and Snapchat. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Today's show is brought to you by Death Wish Coffee. Death Wish Coffee, the strongest coffee in the world.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and I want to urge you to make a generous donation to the Wayne Foundation so we can stop the sexual trafficking of children. Do it, or I'll find you.
And don't forget to check out our good friend of the show, Mark Live, over at chundertunes.com for all your podcast animation needs. ThatMan on Fatman is recorded with a Zoom H6 handy recorder. Zoom for creators.
Disclaimer. The show you're about to experience is for entertainment purposes only. The hosts use mature language and conversation just like in most of life. If you're too uptight, this might not be for you. All that said, we really do hope you enjoy the show. But if you don't enjoy it, expect a nice big shipment of my joyous Joker juice on your doorstep in the very near future. Toodles!
Yes, please note that use of all sound effects is done ironically.
Ooh-ah. You are listening to ThatMan on Fatman with Scott and Jean Holden, and they, trust me, have a great ass.
The second Y is sent in by
ThatMan on Fatman.
Oh, right on. Scott Holden.
Scott Holden, yep.
And what does Scott want?
Call me Scott because I'm Holden.
As the world's biggest Kevin Smith fan, I appreciate the fact that somebody finally made a podcast about that interesting motherfucker. So, yes, you absolutely did the right thing.
Okay, what has two thumbs and is a huge fan of Kevin Smith? ThatMan!
Scott, who does ThatMan on Fatman podcast.
Yeah.
Ooh-ah.
Well, once upon a time, just a regular man read a book written by the Fat Man. Tough shit written by old Kev Smith.
Ooh-ah. ThatMan on Fatman.
Kev said go out and start a podcast, and so I did, and I had a real blast. But my obsession was driving my co-host nuts.
Who is he? He's that man. He's talking.
Didn't want to bring the podcast down. Needed Porkchop Murphy to hang around.
Go get him, that man.
So I created a show with one heck of a plan, and I call that show ThatMan on Fatman.
ThatMan on Fatman.
Go get him, that man.
We're gonna talk about Kevin Smith.
ThatMan on Fatman. ThatMan on Fatman.
Go get him, that man.
We're gonna talk about Kevin Smith.
Go get him, that man.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode, Season 5, Episode 1. That's 5-1 of ThatMan on Fatman. Welcome to the new season. And here with me in the studio, as usual, is none other than co-host and producer extraordinaire, Jean Holden.
Hi, guys.
And you know what? Not only is it our big kickoff of Season 5, but we have big news to open it up with. I'm sure most Kevin Smith fans are already familiar with what it is, but we won't waste any time, and we will jump right into the SMed lines.
ThatMan on Fatman presents The SMed Lines with Askew News reporter Danielle Ryan.
Universe. How are you all doing this lovely day? I am your news girl, Danielle Ryan, and this week we just have one piece of news because it's a big one, and I'm sure you all know by now.
Yes, we do. Hey, Danielle.
Hey.
Hi.
This is the one part of the news that we got to get into the rhythm of, like the
Right.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, you got to get that transition. We got to get that down once we figure out how to go to Danielle.
I can't believe it's almost a week ago now that this even happened.
I know.
Because it was Sunday night, apparently.
Yeah, so it was almost a week ago.
So tell us a little more.
Yeah, so
our ThatMan, or our Fatman, rather.
Fatman.
You're our ThatMan, our Fatman, our Kevin Smith.
I do it all the time.
It's not hard to switch them.
No, it's not.
But he had a heart attack, a massive Widowmaker heart attack, and it was not good, but he is okay. And as okay as you can be after something like that. And it's just, it's been crazy. It's shaken a lot of people, myself included, because my fiance is the worst person at delivering news on the planet Earth. So you'd think dating being with a news girl that he would pick up some lessons about not leading with, honey, have you been on Twitter this morning? Kevin Smith had a major heart attack. That's not how you start that.
Well, I woke up to that. I mean, I literally, he was
sound
like,
asleep.
I only probably had fallen asleep, only a little bit before around Kevin probably having the heart attack. It was like 2 a.m. when I fell asleep.
And I was like, wake up.
Kevin had a massive heart attack.
I was asleep too. I was in bed.
He was out like a light. He jumped up like, what?
Like, is he alive?
I couldn't even believe it was real because I thought I was reading like something like in a dream. I felt like it was very, like I was like half awake. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the way he said, "Have you been on Twitter?" I was like, "Oh God, there was another shooting." That was my first.
Oh, I know.
And then my second thought was, and then he goes, "Kevin Smith had a major heart attack," and my second thought was, "Oh no, just like Carrie, I can't take this again." And then he goes, "Oh, he's okay though." And my third thought was, I'm going to get up out of this bed and knock you in the face.
Well, but it is sort of.
You could have led with
that
okay
roller.
with.
Yeah. Well, but how do you do that?
Especially since he's okay,
just so you know, Kevin Smith's okay, but all this shit happens.
But most of the time.
Lead with, he's not currently in the process of dying, but. Well, I mean, we're all are,
But, I mean, you could have said he's in critical condition. Because he was.
Right,
well,
but
yeah,
still,
he was actually, but yeah.
But still, like, he's awake. You could leave with
intensive
he's
care,
conscious.
Right.
Because that's what he told me as soon as I started, like, panicking.
Yes.
Well, apparently, the funniest thing about most of the story is that Kevin himself, like, his biggest concern throughout most of it was his own modesty. Let's play a little cut about it.
God.
So the paramedics came, wonderful first responders, man. They were very patient with a guy who was, never mind the heart attack, deathly afraid of lifting his shirt up.
This is the longest cut, by the way.
That's part of the deal, right? Somebody like you've called the paramedics. We got to check you and stuff, and they put monitors on you or whatever. Got to do your blood pressure. So instantly, they start doing what they do and lift up your shirt. And I'm like, whoa! I'm like yanking down my shirt. And it became a struggle, a battle with these cats. Because, they looked at me. I was profusely sweating. And I sweat like when I fucking breathe. But this was more than I've ever sweated in my life. So they're looking at me going like, this cat has no idea what's going on, does he? And I'm like, don't lift my shirt up, please. And so they're talking to me and asking me all the questions and shit like that. And, I was like, hey, man, I feel okay. And they're like, we think you might be having a heart episode right now. So how about, we put these monitors on you. And so they did, and they did my blood pressure. And then the guy was like, I'm going to put, this is nitrous or nitro, whatever they call it. I'm going to put it under your tongue. Lift your tongue up. And I did, and he squirted it under there. That happened 5 more times. Once he did that twice, then I started catching on to be like, I wonder if this is worse than I assume. And then I heard somebody there was like 6 people, and I was too busy like trying to keep my shirt down to concentrate. But one person said heart attack, and that's when I was like, what? No, surely not. And they're like, we're going to take you to the hospital just to make sure you didn't have a heart attack. And I was like, okay, that's totally great.
So apparently what he kept talking, he also talked to, for those who, the Ralph Report, he talked about just not having pain.
Yeah, he said it didn't hurt. I do know he was really saying, I mean, I saw all over the web, that I wasn't in a lot of pain, that it was more just he felt sick.
Yeah, nauseous.
Nauseous.
And like he didn't say, like, he couldn't put the term on it heavy on the chest, but he said getting a good deep breath, that took some effort. So,
yeah, and what's so scary, he basically presented the same symptoms that women tend to present.
Yeah.
Because most women don't know they're having heart attacks because they just have like flu-like symptoms, and they assume that, I just don't feel good, I should go lay down, something like that.
Yeah, they don't get like dizzy sometimes or whatever.
Yeah, you get dizzy or a little bit short of breath, but they don't think, it's a heart attack, because there's no clutching chest pain, there's no tingling in your left arm, all those things you're taught to look for, because those only present in men usually.
Yeah, and maybe not necessarily, as they
and maybe
say,
not necessarily, because everybody presents differently. Everybody has different reactions to things.
Yeah, like my friend at work, Andre, he said it was the most intense pain he's ever felt in his life. So that's what I always would. Okay, well, mental note, if you ever get the most intense pain in your life, you're probably having a heart attack. But no one ever says, if you're just a little nauseous and a little short of breath,
And I have a friend who had a massive heart attack, and she said it felt exactly like a panic attack, like a bad panic attack. She's like, it's just the shortness of breath, and you just feel like sweaty and tingly.
Which is what Ralph Garman commented about, and with some concern, because he's subject to panic attacks and was like...
As am I.
So he was like, well, now it sounds like maybe I do have to worry when I have a panic, because that's what he always thinks when he has a panic attack, that he's having a heart attack.
Yeah, that's a lot of people do. It's a health anxiety thing, and it's like, oh God, I'm having a heart attack, and you think you are, and then when you find out that can be the way it presents, it's like, oh, that's nice.
And of course, that's like a panic loop too. That's the
It's like going on WebMD and looking up your symptoms. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, it's like you basically put yourself into a blue screen.
Right.
It's not good. Yeah. But I'm so glad that Kev's okay. I was really, really upset when I initially heard. And
it was horrible.
But again, like, it seems that most of the time his biggest concern was people seeing his dick.
You've had a massive heart attack, and your LAD is completely blocked, 100% blocked or something like that. So they're like, we're going to take you, well, they didn't know that part yet. They're like, we're going to take you up to the ER because you've had a massive heart attack, and we have to look inside your heart right away. And I was like, how's that happen? And, because they're starting to pump you with some drugs. And so they said, we're going to go up through your groin and into your heart. And right then and there, I was like, this shit is serious, son. So I was like, okay. And I never got scared. Like, at one point, one of the paramedics was like, you're being real calm, man. That's great. Yeah. That's going to help a lot. And then there was someone else behind him who was like, that's what's going to save his life. And little things like that, I was like, what does that mean? Like, I still didn't know, like, what was going on.
He was in denial.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I'll take denial over... Every time I'm in the hospital, I either am convinced that I'm dead already and that it doesn't matter, or I'm, like, a total panicking, oh my God, I'm dying mess. And usually that's when it's, like, the least thing, and they're just like, you are so overreacting, and I'm sorry to everybody that works in hospitals that has to deal with me, because I'm one or the other. I either don't care, I'm like, yeah, stick me, whatever. The other thing, though, I'm the opposite about the modesty thing. Like, I assume that they've seen every kind of nudity on the planet Earth, doctors and nurses and stuff. So they're like, oh, here, we'll give you a gown, and they go to leave the room, and I just start stripping. I'm like, whatever, you guys have seen it. I'm here to be treated. I don't care.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well,
it's okay. Your body is beautiful.
Yeah.
They've seen so much scarier, dude.
The guy goes, I got to shave you. And I said, I can't do it. He goes, I got to take your underwear off. I said, bro, if you take my underwear off, I will have another heart attack right here. Like, I can't do that. He goes, what are we supposed to do? And I said, will you show me where you got to shave? And so he showed me like in the groin where it was. And so I'm making deals with this dude. I'm literally dying. And I'm making deals with this dude going, look, how about I pull the underwear over as far as I can and then you get in there and shave and that way I can keep my underwear on. And my man was looking at me like, okay, bro, I get it. Your dick's small. So I did that.
So yeah.
So what we're learning?
Really, this is what he's thinking about.
I think the weed really helps.
It really does. Yeah.
Also, he's a never nude. Like that's
right. Oh yeah.
That's what we have to learn from this is that he's a never nude and he should just start adopting the jorts way of life.
Oh yeah, that's if you that's like his biggest fear.
Yeah, he's definitely someone who likes to keep his clothes on.
Yeah, he keeps his clothes on during sex,
For
in
most
the shower,
people, in the shower.
whenever he can.
He takes his shower with his clothes on.
So so he needs just like David Cross, and I think Ryan Reynolds did it. Well, there's a couple of other stars that have done it as a joke.
Yeah.
And worn just the jorts. So.
I think, but he's even afraid of showing off his boobs. You know?
Well, then he can wear jorts in the jersey.
Yeah, well, that's all he's gonna wear. Let's see what I forget
So
what this
then
cut is.
ultimately, I remember at one point somebody was like, "Why does he have underwear on still? Get him off!" And I was arguing, trying to hold him up and stuff. And then I took my shirt
pre-surgery.
and I was covering myself.
I know, like he's so
with it, like a modesty rag,
focused
and
on.
And they were like, finally
that
somebody had
doesn't
the good
matter.
sense to be like, he doesn't quite realize that hiding his dick is not the most important thing right now.
Oh, so after all that, he talks more about hiding his dick, seriously, during the video of talking about that than this.
Is that like
And completely went in. They found the LAD was 100% blocked. Put a stent in. Bam, here I am. Crazy. Dude literally saved my life. Isn't that nuts?
And you're worried about your penis.
This is the man who I've seen on a stage yelling about how he just tells his wife, "Look at it."
Yes.
But he doesn't want. Okay.
I know.
Instant. Well, I mean, who else but Kevin Smith would Instagram his heart attack?
That's true,
right?
You know what I mean?
He's been so funny about all of it. Like,
But
he's
actually-
had such a great sense of humor about it.
But he made a great point because what happened was, so he's being carted out of the show, and the rumor going around is food poisoning.
Yeah. Well, he said he had milk, and he thought maybe he had bad milk.
Yeah, and so by the time he's on his way to the hospital, he's like, well, I want my friends to know what's really going on. I don't want them to think that I've been food poisoned. So why don't I use social media as it's intended?
Right.
And just that way I only have to put it out once and everyone will know.
Well, it sounds like he listened to his body. He told everybody how he felt and said, I need to go to the doctor, or I need to go now. They were ready. They had somebody there really quick, and they knew that the hospital was closed. So it seemed like everything happened rather quickly.
Yes.
Which needed to be, because if not, it may have turned out differently.
And our boy's alive.
He is. Yay!
He's doing all right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be taking a lot of medicines.
Yeah, he's got a cocktail of...
He's now a vegetarian.
Yeah. Well, he's thinking of going vegan. Yeah, he's been saying.
You know what?
God.
Why not?
I mean, if you can.
I can see more vegetarian than
Yeah,
vegan.
me too.
Vegetarian I can see, but vegan is so difficult. I mean, he has, more income than like I do, so he can probably afford it. But vegan is not a cheap or easy lifestyle.
Yeah, I know. I worked at a health food store for a while. I was a vegetarian. I never really was vegan. But what I've noticed about veganism is it's more like a religion than it is an actual dietary thing. And most people use it so that they can judge themselves to be better than others.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
I like cheese too much. I can't.
That's my thing. I can't give up cheese, man.
Scott Pilgrim totally nailed the vegan.
I love Scott.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
I'm just better than you.
Just better than my vegan powers.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my, I love him so much.
But every vegan cheats. They lie.
I don't know if they cheat.
Every vegan
most
cheats.
of them cheat.
There's
most of them cheat.
Absolutely.
Like Moby doesn't, but
Oh, yeah, he does. You can't follow someone
No, he
around.
doesn't. Have you seen Moby?
Then you find out he's had Jell-O.
Moby.
No, I think Moby lives off of just like carrots and apples. Like if he turns sideways, he disappears.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Like, there's no ounce of fat on him at all.
Yeah,
I believe it.
I know who
Yeah.
Moby is.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I like Moby, but I just I can't.
It's David
I can't,
Klein, actually.
Yeah, he does look like David Klein.
Does.
Yeah.
But no, vegetarianism, I totally support it. And if that's where Kev wants to go with
Yeah.
it, good for him. But it's just hard to get protein unless you're just gonna like shovel beans into
Yep.
your face.
I'm of the Ben Franklin variety. Ben Franklin at points in his life became vegetarian, but then he would also say it's very good to be a human and to be sensible because, sometimes I can be a vegetarian and sometimes I cannot.
I like that. That's how I am. A carnivore. Sometimes I want to be a carnivore. Like I want a burger. Like now.
Yeah.
I miss red meat. I gave up red meat 6 or 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I sometimes have a turkey burger too.
Yeah, I'm almost vegetarian just in general. Like I don't think about it.
Yeah, you really
But then
are.
I
You don't
occasionally
really
have meat.
don't
Or
even like
occasionally,
chicken.
I
You don't even like
hate
chicken.
chicken. Ugh.
He hates chicken.
I hate chicken. I think chicken is not
He
the
doesn't
same.
like fish
Chicken
at
is not
all.
the same thing as when we were kids.
He doesn't like fish at all.
Chicken tastes different depending on where you are in the country.
Oh, and it to me, it's like some
Isn't
sort
that
of weird rubber thing now. It's
Yeah.
not.
Oh my
like,
god, chicken down in the south because it's nothing but chicken farms. It's all local. Like your chicken is coming to you like it was probably killed like a couple miles from your house.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
I know
chicken
they
in the
love
south is cheap and delicious.
They love what do you call it down south? The fucking what was that chicken place?
What, chicken and waffles?
Well, chicken waffles, but what's the chicken place I'm thinking of? The
Mrs.
fundamentalist chicken.
Winners.
I can't remember now.
Oh, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, because it's freaking delicious.
Oh my
Closed
God.
on Sunday.
You know.
Do you know how many gay friends I have that eat at Chick-fil-A? And I'm like, how
Why do you
do
do that?
But you know what? It's so good. Now,
like,
if they
everything supports something crappy, and it is really tasty chicken.
not if they do, then I can. But we
Well.
don't even have one around here. I love Chick-fil-A.
It's probably
too.
NRA chicken as
Their
well.
chicken is really good. Like that sandwich, and I don't know what. There's something. I don't know what it is, but it's delicious.
It's
The
fried in
pickles.
peanut oil.
Oh yeah, well that'll do it.
Yeah, it's fried in peanut oil, and it's got pickles, and oh my god.
Well, one thing I did also pry from the special,
Yes.
or
Yes,
not the
yes.
special, but the Ralph Garman show,
Uh-huh.
was that apparently he did like 4 hours.
Whoa.
So
Kev.
they actually got enough in the one show that he did to do the special that he was taping for.
That's
oh,
awesome.
He doesn't even need to redo it, is what.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. He
Oh, those people are going to be bummed though that wanted to see him. That night. Like
the one
Big Daddy Jimmy
time
V.
the one time I saw him live, he went real long, and I was like, this feels right. This feels like he always goes long.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
usually does. But
Which is good for
although
him.
over time, I will say those have gone down. Like it's more special nights.
Yeah.
It's more like birthdays and
Right. And he may
Well-
have to chill for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
he may have to
Yeah.
chill. Just
This was 420.
saying.
This was 420, and it was the
Oh, yeah,
super
there you go.
groovy cartoon movie
Oh yeah,
There
well,
you
that's
go.
totally
There you
different.
go.
That's
in
totally.
Atlanta.
Well, that's even
totally
better
different.
because what happens is he gets to come out and warm up the crowd. Then the movie comes
Yeah.
out. Then they
Yep.
come out again and have a good time. So
It was the best. It was.
That sounds fun.
It cemented my love for him, and it's like that was sort of the
Aw.
catalyst to me going.
Aw.
I'm gonna meet that man because he was just wonderful. I did get to grab a handful of J Mew's ass, so
There you go.
that's
There
Yummy.
you go. You get you some ass.
it was
And I
wonderful.
love Kevin is adorable.
Well, it's
And
actually-
even in that bed when he's talking to us, like
it's
when
good
Yes.
Jordan was around. Jay Muse's wife, because
I
she
know.
essentially
Yeah.
was on the stick. And,
Hey, listen, Jordan has that shit
yeah,
tight.
yeah.
Come on, Jordan. You go, girl. She has it tight. She's
no nonsense.
She has it. No nonsense is right. She has.
Well, I feel like that's
It's-
the women of the Askew-universe in general.
Yes, of course.
Like these are some
They gotta
bad
put up
bitches.
with all
They
these wacky guys.
are. They are, and he knows it too, because you hear him talk. He respects them. Come on.
Oh, I mean, between his wife
absolutely.
and yeah, exactly.
And his daughter. I mean, his daughter.
Yep.
The way she's very confident, and he should be proud of what he's.
She put out a big tweet. I don't know if you read it, or I don't know if it was from Instagram
was very
or.
Sweet. It was
yeah.
sweet.
She talked
And
about
then
how
Kevin
her father was
responded.
always invincible.
And then Kevin said, "Thank you, my beardless twin."
Yeah,
It was so cute.
Which is how I feel about my daughter.
I know.
feel she's very
you don't
much
have a
like
beard,
chip off the
but-
old block.
Yeah, she is. It's funny because you and Maura are very much alike.
Yes. I
Like
agree.
Harley and Kevin are very much alike.
Yes.
And you
That's
have
awesome.
that same sort of, like, because Kevin, Harley looks like Jen and Kevin. Like, you can see it. Like, right
The
away.
amalgamation.
She looks like one of those, input your pictures and we'll mash up a baby. Like, she literally looks like somebody just did that, except slightly less horrifying, because they're usually...
I mean, and she's adorable, but
she's gorgeous.
Like,
but-
Maura's kind of like that, too. Like, you put us together, and that's what our daughter looks like. It's such a
Whereas my brother and I are both like, we just look like distant cousins of our family members. We look like this off branch.
That's always interesting.
Well, that's because my grandfather booked right after my dad was born, so we have a different grandfather from the rest of the family. And my grandma always tells me, she's like, you look just like your dad's real dad. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. We have one picture of the guy.
That's like I'm adopted, but I found my birth mother, and we all have different birth fathers. Kev apparently takes after his mom, who also has.
He does.
She has 2 stints.
Oh yeah. She has 2 stents, and now he has 1.
But I'm glad that he's okay, and he has a stent, but that's okay.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, at least
he
we
has
have this technology. 100 years ago, you'd be toast.
Right, and he has a little card now.
Right.
He'll have in his wallet.
Yep.
And he'll
He
just
should
have
get
to
one of the
take his-
bracelets.
Yeah, he should.
Of course, Kelly Carlin had the best line. She
Oh,
said
yeah.
that she knew that Kevin liked her father, but she was a little worried about the lengths he was willing to go to be like him.
That was kind of like my Carrie Fisher thought. I had a very similar sort of. I was like, no, I'm not losing you both to heart attacks. Don't you do this to me.
Right.
That would
Like,
suck.
I know.
and I was like, no. Like, if that move.
Yeah, but her heart attack was weird.
Her heart attack was caused by some things. His
Yes.
heart attack was just because his body was like, hey, Kev, you didn't take real good care of me. So
Yeah, and apparently in January,
Yeah.
Harley reminded him that he had the same sort of symptoms of, he complained of weird congestion and felt sickly and needed to lay down and get his shit together. So he may have been having a mini heart attack right there.
Right. Well, it seemed like it passed, or
Yeah.
heart disease, or something.
Or he may have had something that he may have had a heart attack and it just passed.
Well, if he was walking around with a blockage.
Yeah. I mean, he could have had a minor heart attack.
100%. 100%.
I have a friend who had one at 24. He had a minor heart attack, and he didn't have any money, didn't have health insurance, so he chewed up a bunch of aspirin, laid down on the couch, and watched TV, and hoped that it would pass. And he ended up being okay, and he has since lost all of the weight and is very healthy and happily married and all those things. But
he chewed a whole bunch of aspirin, and he was all right. See, I've heard that people do.
He chewed a whole
Is
bunch
that
of aspirin and drank water and laid down on the couch and just did everything he could and stayed calm. And
Well, 24,
he was
I
okay.
guess you have a little more vigor in you to recover.
Yeah, 24.
Well,
but
and I don't think it was a super bad one. But
wow.
I would have called 911.
Yeah.
But I'd have been
So
like, I'll
young.
go into debt. It's fine.
I know, right?
Well, you don't want to be caught with all that crystal meth either.
I know, no.
That's true. But if you're doing crystal meth, you might know why.
Because if you're having heart attacks at 24, there's a good chance. I don't know.
He was extremely heavy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He was close to 400 pounds at the time.
Oh, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Well.
And he's down to 180. So.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. This was 5 or 6 years ago, so we're happy he's still around.
Nice.
So everybody can turn their lives around. That's the best thing. I mean, and that's what you can take from this, because my friend and I were talking about it today, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go record That Man on Fatman. I'm gonna try not to cry if I talk about Kev, because I was so upset. And he's like, yeah, the news made me start walking again, because I really was like, oh, I gotta start being proactive about my own health. And I was like, oh, dude, you're right. And I actually grabbed my dog and went and took a walk right before we recorded. Same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, we called down to the doctor. I want to get myself my stress test and have my heart looked at, because I'm the same age as Kevin and I'm diabetic. So I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
If he can get a heart attack, so can I.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So people will be doing it, which is good.
You know, that's the good thing that could come out of this. You know, awareness, at least among the Kevin crowd.
He's always. But
the Kevin crowd is everybody, because my coworkers at my day job, which is so far outside the realm of this, even those folks came up to me on Tuesday when I went into work first, and they were like, hey, we heard about Kevin Smith. Are you okay? And I'm like,
wow.
Like, this tells me two things.
Yeah.
One, that everybody knows I love Kevin Smith, which I'm like, yeah, that's fair. And two, that they all know who Kevin Smith is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's weird, too, because, we made a little video that day because we weren't going to put a show out for another week. And there was a point where I'm sort of justifying even why we're doing it, but at the same time, that has an impact on our lives because of the show, you know? Yeah. In addition to us being fans, we do a show about the guy, so it's like this impacts our life.
It's a part of our life.
You got to start thinking about, if the guy died, would we go on and, shit like that? And
well, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Even more so.
Anyway. But that was the kind of stuff. And meanwhile, if you listen to the host segment today, when we recorded this, after we finished, I'm sure Andy found out that night that Kevin had a heart attack, because he was they're in the same town and they're friends and everything. So, I mean, and when I went through and listened and edited this, it could have been a eulogy had he passed. It's so weird.
Really is.
Yeah, because we're playing clips from his and laughing and having a good time. So, I mean, it's well timed no matter what. But
yeah, it did turn out good.
So, yeah, it's all it won't though. If you think about it, that later on that night, Kevin had a heart attack. As you listen to this, there is a couple times where it's like, wow, that's kind of eerie. So
yeah. If that gave me goosebumps. Yeah, no, I was not prepared to give a eulogy today in any way, shape, or form. Eulogizing Carrie Fisher. I wrote when Carrie died, actually, the first thing I did was write an article. I was like, I'm eulogizing her, and somebody's going to publish it. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it was published by fandom.com, and it was a really cool piece, and I was really happy about it. But I don't think I could at this. You guys would be like, we need to come on and talk about Kevin. I'd be like, guys, I can't do this. It wouldn't be good.
And no grief shaming.
No.
Yeah. Oof. It would be ugly. Because that's he's too important. He's a light in the world, and
really
there's not enough light right now.
Yes, I agree.
So.
Yes, and so I'm glad he still walks among us, and now he's aware, and he's like, now a doctor will be my best friend, a cardiologist is going to be his main, thing, and
yeah, he can just take better care of himself and be around to make a whole bunch more movies, and
he's supposed to
grace us with his presence.
And that's the other thing, I remember we were talking he's got to slow down and stuff now, and he's like, I feel great now,
yeah, but he's still Bill, he will be required to go to the doctor once a month, and so he'll have to kind of be local for some time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's still okay.
It's
mean,
okay.
that's not. He can still do all the things he wants to do as far as, he can't go on crazy hooker and coke benders, but.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. We were talking, they say smoking, the act of smoking isn't good for you. So a lot of people, past heart patients, vape. I wonder if he'll make that change.
I
don't see that happening.
I don't see him going to vaping. And vaping it's unregulated and it scares the crap out of me. because they can put whatever the heck they want in those things. That's
yeah,
what
but
scares
you can actually vape weed itself. Like it's
you can-
essentially
Oh, yeah,
it's
no,
like
I know you
it's
can.
like
That's-
heating it up for just like below burning point stuff.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, but it's
light
just-
boxes and things like that.
Yeah, the question is, is it satisfactory or will he enjoy it as much? Because I know he's a big joint smoker.
Right.
He just loves
I
joints.
don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a question for the man.
Well, so I'm from Colorado, so I can tell you, I've been out to Colorado since they legalized, and I can tell you that there are things on the market that are so wonderful, like volcanoes. And,
the
Oh yeah,
volcanoes.
yeah. The volcano's like $600 though. That's the problem there.
Well, he could do it. It's
Oh yeah, he has no problem. Yeah. Yeah.
All we have to do is call up Doug Benson and be like, "Hey, Doug Benson, getting Doug with High, my fan.
Yeah.
Hook Kevin Smith up with a volcano," and he'll make that happen. Like stoners
And he's been
love
on there
Kevin
too.
Smith. Exactly.
He's been on there.
And he's a good dude. So
Yes. He'll be up to his eyeballs in volcanoes if he needs it.
Yeah, exactly. All
Well,
Kev
that's
has
true.
to
He
do
even
is
said,
go-
I'm surrounded by gift baskets everywhere when he got home
right.
and
I'm
everything.
sure he
Yeah,
got
exactly.
a volcano
So-
gift basket.
So
Yeah.
people just need to hook him up with like a volcano and a magic flight box and just some real good, things that are easier on your lungs.
And Disney jokingly called him Kevin James.
No.
But because Kevin jokes about being mistaken
Yeah, they
for
made
him.
him a Mickey Mouse cookie and get well.
Oh yeah, I
Kevin
saw that.
James on
Kevin
it.
James.
Yeah. It's like, at least they get it.
That's cute. I love that.
That's like Frank Garman.
Yeah. No, I get it. It just hurts me a little bit. Well, and Mark
I
Hamill
know.
was like, now you know how people do when they get
There
me
you
confused
go.
with Mark Harmon or John Hamm. Which
Oh my God.
Mark
And
Hamill
wait a
and
minute.
John Hamm, what are you doing, fam?
But wait a minute. How of all the things, even Kevin had to talk about it. Poor fucking Chris. What's his name?
Oh my God, Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
I felt so bad for him.
Oh
I
my
know
God.
he's religious, and he's been pretty good about keeping that kind of under wraps because people tend to not be so great about that.
Right.
And yeah, when he was like,
I think-
everybody, I'm praying, he's like, I'm praying for you, Kevin. And everybody's like, fuck your thoughts and prayers.
Well,
And I'm
I
like,
think-
you guys don't understand what that means,
I
do you?
think what might have incensed people was where he's like, "Pray with me" or whatever the fuck it was.
Come and pray with me. or
Yeah,
whatever.
it
He
was.
believes in the power of prayer. You know
I
what?
get it. I get it. I
positive thing. Who
I
cares?
get it. I understand, and I know that it's a compliment. You know what I mean? It's how people like
Yeah,
that.
People went weird.
It's they mean it as a good sentiment. I get it. I'm an atheist, but I get it, and I don't freak
get mad
out on
when somebody
people.
tells me Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I don't freak out on people either. But there are people out, and this ties into the whole gun thing. So,
Oh, yeah.
for whatever reason, it was a total bleed over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, because it was people who were like, "We're fucking sick of your thoughts and prayers," but this isn't like. This
That's
is
completely
th-
different.
What else can you do? You're not a
what do you-
fucking doctor. You're not going to be able to fix them.
Hands of the doctors. Exactly. Do you expect Chris Pratt to just teleport there and
I'm
magically
going to
make
perform
things better?
surgery.
Fuck off with that. If he wants
Make
to
a
sell
law. No.
whatever.
Yeah, cut the dude
It's a
some
completely
slack.
different thing.
And plus, it's fucking Star Lord. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
God, that's
not
what.
even- it's-
Even Kevin said that. He's like, it's Star Lord.
Yeah.
Well, even Kevin had the right. I mean, Kevin's like, it's a nice thing that he's
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Like, no matter what, it's a positive. And I know that people.
And when
are
I
shitting
hear atheists complain about that, I think to myself, "Shut the fuck up!
stupid.
You just
Why?
It makes me just as angry as religious people who get shitty about
Yeah.
secular things.
Yeah.
It's just as shitty.
It's like it's like the ones who want to remove, like when you say, "Oh my God" and shit like that, who
Right. It's
strive
pretty much-
so hard. It's like just because I say it doesn't mean it means anything.
Right.
Some of
the
it's
way
it's
that language works is some of it doesn't mean anything.
yeah. Oh my God, during orgasm, you don't even think about it. It's just instilled.
Yeah, like I say "oh my gods" a lot just because it's funnier to me, and I'm an edgelord. But it's but no, I agree with you. It's bullshit that you would ever get mad about somebody saying something to you that is ultimately harmless towards you and has good intentions.
Yeah.
Like how
Yes.
can you take
They're not
good
telling you to
intentions-
fuck off.
Right.
Right. Like they're not telling you to go fuck
But they
yourself.
should've.
They're not telling you to die in a fire.
Right.
They're not
Like
telling
they
you to
should have.
eat
Okay.
grass.
Yes.
Instead they're saying, hey, I'm praying for, like, people tell me they're praying for me all the time, and I'm not religious, but that's
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as they can't do anything else to help, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and as a person, if you've just been told some bad news about a person who you were talking to, you're not given a lot of options of what to say next.
If that's what that person does to make
after I'm sorry, there's not a lot left. So if you want to, I'm keeping you my thoughts.
And
you don't have a lot of options after that.
Well,
so.
because
you really don't.
And like, you appreciate that if that's what that person does to feel better and want to make things better, then go do it, because it's only a positive thing.
So don't be so dicky about other people's thoughts and prayers, folks.
But just don't tell me to have a blessed day, okay? Go fuck
yourself. That one bugs me. It's like, and here's the
blessed. Hashtag blessed.
Yeah. Also, because having a good one isn't good enough anymore. Also, like the idea of, wow, that was lucky. Like, what a lucky chance. That's gone too. You can't be lucky anymore. You have to be blessed. God has had to fucking interfere with the cosmos just for you.
Oh, I do love making fun of that. Like when Tim Tebow was like, God's watching me. I'm like, dude, God does not give a shit about football.
You know what?
He doesn't.
Ask a soldier
I know, right?
about being blessed.
I know.
Right.
You know what? You know what they find out really fast? It is so random.
Life
who
is chaos.
lives and who dies.
Life is chaos. You're right.
You know, that's where survivor guilt comes from.
Mm-hmm. Life is chaos, and all we're doing with religion is trying to make order out of it.
Yeah, maybe feel good.
And
usually, what
life is
usually
suffering,
happens
too.
though is most humans use it to make themselves feel better than someone else.
Right.
Well, yeah, because that's what people do with everything, no matter what it is, whether it's you use money or politics or power or religion or whatever.
Do you remember Rick and Morty, the one with the ultimate power that comes in? What's her name? Fucking Unity comes in and unifies everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as soon as she ununifies him, he's like, "Look at him! He's got the wrong nipples."
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. As long as there's somebody different, as long as there's an other for us to put down, we're going to do it. It's just human nature, and it's not until you
tribalism.
It's true though.
It's tribalism at its most basic.
And it's not until you realize that and accept that and try to change that about yourself that you're going to ever become a good person and a whole person.
Yes.
And get over your own bullshit.
Just more like Kevin Smith in general.
I know. He is really like that.
He is. He's a good human being. Like, there's very few people that I've met that I just instantly felt comfortable around because I've been through some shit and I have a lot of, sort of internal walls that I put up. And I walked up to him and I was just like, dude, he could pick me up and carry me away. And I'd be like, this is fine. I'm safe. I'm in the arms of an angel. It's cool. Like, he's a good guy. He's genuine and down to earth and doesn't see bullshit like race or sexuality or any of that. He just sees people and he loves us all.
And he doesn't require much of us.
No, he really just is like, hey, show up and laugh. I'll be there.
Why don't we leave it there? Because we've been going like a half hour, and I know the guest segment's long.
That's true.
All right, I will play the closing theme, and we will say, hey, and this is the first week of season 5. So welcome to our new season.
Week 1 of season.
That kind of got a little lost in all the Kevin news, but.
Can only get better from
crazy
here.
News. Yeah. We can only go up from here.
Next week will be better.
All right. Thanks so much, Danny.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
This has been the Smedlines with Askew News reporter Danielle Ryan. Follow her on Twitter at Danny Rat.
We want to thank Miss Danny Ryan for doing the Smedlines, as usual.
Great job.
Check her out on Twitter at Danny Rat.
Yes.
And
freakyfandoms.com.
Yeah, so we gave you a little bit of an intro as to this week's. We wanted to get a nice good guest to kick off the new season 5, with. And so it has been a while since Edumacation Andy, co-host of Edumacation and author of the book Edumacation, based on a podcast with Kevin Smith, his co-host. We went and sought him out and got him back on the show. Yep. This is like his 3rd or 4th, maybe even 5th appearance. I'm not even sure. But
he's very sweet.
If you recall, last season, excuse me, over a 2-parter, it really wasn't meant to happen that way, but it just did. We did our top 10, SModcast episodes. So we picked the top 10 episodes, and we played cuts, and we had a good time. And that was with that was with the guys from Where Are My Seats?
Right.
And so this time, having Andy on, it would be a good time to pick the top 10 Edumacation episodes. So that's what I sought to do. And so that was the show in a nutshell. But then with Kevin having had a heart attack, it was I sat there and I went, whoa, this is like, as I edited, I'm like, well, first of all, thank God he didn't die, because thank God he didn't die. But
it was
I don't want to live in a world without Kevin Smith.
Right.
But yeah, it was like,
in retrospect, it was
and even Kevin said on the Ralph Report this week.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. He now knows what it would be like to see a eulogy, like when he dies. That's what he felt like. So,
whoa,
it very much feels like this guest segment. Sorry, I keep screwing that up. This guest segment with Andy feels in many ways like that, because we are celebrating like a lot of Kevin's just goofiness and wackiness on the
just
show.
Just what we enjoy and how he just like makes us laugh.
Yeah. And so.
Yeah. And why we love the show so much.
So to think that only hours after this was done, this interview, Kevin tweeted out that he had a massive heart attack, and it was so freaky. And
oh my God.
It must have been even weirder for Andy. But,
I know.
That's just the way things happen.
Yeah.
But we're
things
glad that Kevin
up.
is still above ground, that he's feeling and, looking better.
He seems to be feeling very, very well.
Yeah.
Very good.
Bright smile on his face, bushy-tailed. So all the more reason to celebrate the work of that Kevin Smith and Mr. Andrew McElfresh, our guest, as their work on Edumacation, the podcast, as we do our top 10 episodes of Edumacation. We go through them with Andy. This is just a fun time. Let me say up front, we had, I don't know what happened, but we tried it twice, at 2 different points in the day. We just could not get a good
we tried
Skype
in the
connection
morning, and it was like,
And we don't know what was going on. It's so funny because we connect with Danny each week, and I didn't even think about that. And that was the one week we didn't even connect with her. But every time we connect with her, no problems. So one time we connect with Andy, a massive problem, or 2 times. So
I don't know what it was. It could be the distance too. Maybe further.
Yeah, so I want to apologize up front. He's on a phone. It takes me a little bit to adjust to all the levels of sound and stuff, so just bear with that at first. But after a bit, we figure it out, and
sounds good.
All things considered, I think the sound quality is pretty darn good.
We do a good job.
And he hears us, which is most important.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed this time together, and it was, again, so weird to think that only a few hours after this, Kevin was like, I'm having a massive heart attack.
Right.
Blah!
And Andy is very, very cordial, very kind. He's, he's
an awesome dude.
He's very okay.
The fact that he continues to come on our show speaks volumes.
Right, his stories, so we're really appreciative of him coming on.
He's awesome, and
we know
so wonderful
that
to
enjoy it.
He's our first guest of season 5.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Without any further ado,
guys.
Here comes Edumacation Andy.
is our guest.
All right, at this time, I'm so happy to once again welcome back to the show Mr. Andrew McElfresh. You know him as the co-host of the podcast Edumacation with that Kevin Smith. He is also a former writer of Jay Leno's The Tonight Show. And he joins us here again. We're going to do our top 10 Edumacation episode picks. And we would love for Andy to share any insight or anything that he remembers or any kind of good stuff about these episodes. But right now, let's welcome to the show, Mr. McElfresh. Hey, Andy, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for putting up with all the technical issues.
Shenanigans.
We had to put up
There
with.
were some shenanigans. There were shenanigans.
My only speculation is it's so weird. The ground is really wet here.
Weird.
And when the ground gets wet, my internet gets wacky.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen. I'm on, we have fiber, but, who knows? So
I think that's for your podcast. I think of the ThatMan t-shirt should say, when the ground gets wet, my internet gets wacky.
That's a great
Thank you. I think that would work. Well, so why don't you tell us a little bit about why you decided to start the podcast Edumacation? I think that'd be a good intro here.
Well, Kevin and I, we met on The Tonight Show. He was a correspondent for me, and we traveled around. We did about 30-plus roadside attraction pieces and other pieces. And when we weren't shooting, we would shoot the breeze. And most of the stuff we talked about had nothing to do with the industry. And he's like, man, it is nice talking to somebody that just doesn't want to talk about movies and TV shows and the trades and all that stuff. And I'm like, I could talk about that, but I don't know. I figured you probably know more than I do. He said, it's fun. It's fun talking about cool stuff. He used other words. He said shit instead of stuff, for example.
Yes.
But so he was, after the Tonight Show, or before it ended, actually, he's like, we got to do a podcast together. It's just like, there's just so much content pouring out of your mouth and jokes that we pass back and forth. And, what's the point of just having it be between us? Let's share it with people. So that's what we did.
Content coming out of your mouth, huh?
Well, says stuff. It's always slightly dirty.
Yeah. Well, you'll see that pattern, I think, through these clips.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing.
Well,
oh boy, yeah, no, it's this trip down memory lane is going to be rated PG-13 at least.
Of course, at least.
Well, yeah. I'm a firm believer that most podcasts don't really find their true voice until about episode 10. So, our first cut today is from episode 10, which is an episode called Meowsic. Now, other than the actual creation of you guys doing meows, singing meows, which was like a big move, a big step forward for the show.
That's one way of putting it.
You guys also had this conversation, which to me, something about Frank Langella, I can't even say his name now. Frank Langella,
we had a Cyber Scrimps, a Twitter user wrote in to say, we were talking about the robot that looks after the elderly, and he said, oh, you might want to enjoy the film Robot and Frank with Frank Langella.
I've seen that pop up on my Twitter feed, not Twitter feed, Netflix feed. Every once in a while, I'm like, oh, what's this about? And it looks like it's a poster of Frank Langella looking at the robot. It looked
like a soft, oh, what an interesting character study. But then I read the plot synopsis when he wrote this in. The plot synopsis sounds awesome. It's like, okay,
he fucks the robot.
This old, no.
Come on. That's the only way this movie is awesome. There's no other version except it's like old man Frank and his robot buddy fillet a living human being. And talk to him through it. Show him his art.
I'm going to assume you're going through something.
Why? What's it about?
It's about
an
old man. His son is like, you're getting too old to take care of yourself. I got you this robot. Right?
He's going to take care of you. He's like, take care of me?
Well, Frank Langella's character is a retired thief.
Right. That a far more interesting version of that movie is Frank Langella is like, I'm going to fuck the shit out of you, robot. You're put here to watch me. How dare you? And he's just yelling at this robot that doesn't really talk back. And then, so it's a one-man show.
So it's like when he was dating,
Force,
he was dating Whoopi.
That is the movie that I would watch. A haunted old man barking at this fucking robot and then just fucking like, fuck you, and turns it into a fleshlight. And that's Frank Langella getting fucked by a little robot. Even if they took 20-minute scenes, it was like a Lars von Trier movie where you just watched him quietly fuck it. And he was just like, moaning and shit.
Now, here's what's funny. Gene and I figured out that this whole thing, we've needed this whole minute or so just to build up to what really is the punchline of this
I know,
bit,
and the punchline, it's like, come on.
It's such a good payoff.
I'd see that movie. He fucks him up his robot.
Well, that's even a mini payoff. That's not even
his mouth. Let us Dick Doc Frank Langella. Call him Frank Langella. I guess Frank Langella's playing a character
named Frank. Yeah, and they only did that because the robot couldn't remember his character's name.
I'm Frank Langella. Blah blah. Blah blah.
The money shot.
Oh my God.
Greatest actors.
Yes. Thank you for reducing him to
still in character all these years later.
I also played Nixon.
And on P.S., I didn't do the blah blah version of fucking Dracula. Okay, I was the first sexy one.
There you have it. There's our first cut. Genius.
Wow. You think it took 10 whole episodes to get to that?
That is so genius. Blah, blah.
Oh, my God. When he did that, it was like fall down. Any other, any memories from that particular, did that knock anything loose?
I mean, yeah, much more of I relive the discomfort I felt while I was doing it.
Yeah, I think this might have been the first moment where I think Kevin started to stumble on the fact that you embarrass so easily.
Yeah. We all get that feeling when you get it, because we all know that you're getting it so hard. We all get it for you, sir, so don't worry about
I'm going
that.
to drop a name now, but this is a true story. Sarah Silverman, the comedian and actress, she was working on Mr. Show at the studio, at the soundstage right next door to where we were doing the Keenan Ivory Wayans show, and she had some friends working as writers on the show. So one day she just shows up in my writer's office and talks for about a second and is like, oh, you're like a gift from heaven. Everything embarrasses you. Nothing better for a comedian than somebody like you. I was like, this is going to be a long conversation, isn't it?
She's wonderful. Yeah.
I embarrass.
Well, I mean,
it's very,
yeah.
It's very adorable, I must say.
Yeah, and it led to only a little more than a few, but a few episodes later, episode 16 is the birth of something that for some reason became like your catchphrase. And that's episode 16, Make Love to You.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Edumacation, man, is the show where we fucking learn stuff. Thanks to good old Andy McElfresh. He teaches the shit, man. He's a teacher.
I don't know so much of a teacher as someone who hopes to inspire curiosity in the world around you.
Andy's one of them curious people you read about in fucking the forums where they're like, I never thought I'd put one in my mouth. When I did, I just wanted to swallow it. Make love to you.
Usually you wait longer before you start doing that.
I want to make love to you.
Oh, God, help me.
Andy McElfresh in Tempted. A middle-aged man deals with living in Hollywood and being attracted to another man. I just want to make love to you.
How did that become my tagline? Of all the things. What? Andrew Bradley said in episode 10, we never answered why yawns are contagious.
Why are they?
And then George Price rocked in there with a fuck yeah.
Oh, he's like, co-sign, motherfuckers. Your free show gypped me.
Jesus Christ.
That was an authentic, exasperated Jesus Christ. That sounded like my mother when I was just like, I just can't seem to lose weight. And she was like, Jesus Christ, I need to stop eating and walk. Why?
Why?
So that became a catchphrase somehow.
Yeah, I guess. One way It's I just want to make love to you thing is, I mean, it's Kevin imagining how desperate I am when I'm talking to my wife about having sex.
Now, how did that even come up, though? Because that must have been...
I don't know.
How does
I don't
anything
know.
come up?
If I did, then I would invent the time machine and go back and put a stop to it.
How does anything
My
come
assumption
up?
is that he always just pulls things out of your conversation from just before going on mic or whatever.
I think Kevin just pulls it out from wherever. That's what's so hilarious.
Normally it's just like, hey, Kev, what's up? He goes, hey, you doing good? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you want to record? And I'm like, sure. And then he puts his earphones on and starts talking shit.
Oh, my God.
How many doobies does he go through before you hit roll?
It's just like...
He's probably, I haven't been there during the day to count, but certainly, wow. If you look at the waveform of our show, just, laying out in front of you on SoundCloud, you'll see a bunch of spikes in there. Those are the lighter.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I think we might have already hit a lighter. I know there's a lighter in one of these cuts, for sure.
Well, there's 10. Out of the 10 episodes, there's at least
in one of these
or
cuts.
two.
Not only do you hear the lighter hit, but then you hear him toss it on the table.
Yeah, he complains about how noisy the dogs are, and I'm like, yeah, that lighter isn't the quietest thing either.
Well, before we go on, let's talk a little bit about, now that people are kind of getting an idea for the show, let's talk about the book, Edumacation, the book, sir, which we have already pre-ordered.
We're excited.
Can't wait.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It is right now it's the #1 book on Amazon in the comedy science category.
Yeah.
Like I'm competing with 50 Shades Further or whatever the hell that is.
That's not a science.
But it is.
Yeah, book.
I mean, people are really interested in it. I'm pretty excited.
That's a lot like being the world's tallest midget. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to brag a little bit. It's not like me. And I withdraw. I withdraw it.
Yeah, and then look what happens.
I was kidding. Hey, I kid because I love.
I know. That's your love language.
And plus, it's little person.
Oh, yes, that's true. I'm still calling my brother a retard, so I have not got up to speed with all the politically correct.
Yeah, you gotta get a little more PC action going on.
I do.
You're gonna think somebody's ding dong dashing you because there'll be an angry ring at the doorbell, and you'll look out and there'll be no one there because a little person has come to kick your ass.
And they've dropped a little bag of flaming poo.
Yes.
On the doorway.
Very small.
A very little one, though. But very smelly.
Yes. Like the underpants gnomes in South Park.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this next one, you're finally out of the hot seat in terms of you won't be embarrassed on this next cut.
Oh, thank God.
But it's another really...
I probably will.
It's another pivotal sort of show moment. And it's from... it's a cut from episode 31, Why Did I Pick the Riddler?
Oh
Now,
God.
originally, this clip was 8 minutes long, and it's an 8-minute solid rant of Kevin going. He just, there was none of it, 8 minutes is a little long for a clip. So I really had to work this thing to get it down. But just know that this was 8 minutes, at least.
Okay.
You're in a city, Andy. You got to pick a Batman villain who's going to plague your city. Who do you pick? Got to pick one.
I would pick the Riddler.
Good call. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, because it'd be like, I don't know.
Now, wait a minute. Before we even go on, why did you pick the Riddler?
Because the Riddler is, he's not the most violent. He's not like the Joker who gets his teeth punched down his throat every time. He's the one that's saying, I'm desperate to be caught. In fact, I'm so desperate that I will ask a riddle that is really pretty easy. And my name is the Riddler, and yet I give these easy riddles out. So catch me, Batman, catch me. And it obviously, I didn't think of it the same way that Kevin did.
You figured it would be
by the way,
yes?
If we're right, I'm no longer on the Hardwick Science Show. I'm doing right now I'm working on The Joker's Wild with Snoop.
The Joker's Wild, like that old game show?
that old game show. It's on. It's coming. They did one season so far on TBS.
Oh my gosh.
Joker, and a triple.
Oh my gosh, was my girl
Oh my God, that was like one of the few game shows that I used to actually like.
Was my girl just on? Was Busy Phillips just on?
Busy Phillips is on it. She did a bit for us this year.
Yes.
And you know her because you wrote for her in White
Oh,
Chicks.
I love my girl. I love that girl.
Yeah,
love
Jean
Busy
really
Phillips.
does. I don't know.
dig her.
Jean follows her. She's like nuts
I dig
with
her.
her.
I'm like her little shadow. She doesn't even know me though.
That is
all right.
not the reaction I thought when I gave the news about the Joker's Wild. That it's like, oh my God, it's Busy Phillips on it.
Well, that's Jean.
Weird.
Because Jean follows her, so obviously she must have posted about
Yeah, it
it.
was something with Snoop, so I figured it was either that or I thought he had a cooking show maybe too, but I don't know.
He does with Martha Stewart on
Yes.
VH1, but that's not this show.
So you guys
And
throw
she was on that show too.
Oh my gosh.
So it's pull the lever and see the card spin and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's
slot machine, the big Joker's Wild slot machine, and we do a lot of funny bits, a lot of guest stars, and one of whom was my good friend Kevin Smith. He came on and did a bit that's going to be questions on the show.
Hey.
And as he's going, I'm sitting there. I had written the questions, and I was there for the shoot. And as we're talking, and I'm giving him like tweaks and jokes and things, he's like, "Oh my God, you are the Riddler."
So that's why
I picked the Riddler.
Yes. Okay, well, that's some very great insight.
That's great.
You're in a city, Andy. You got to pick a Batman villain who's going to plague your city.
We've restarted, but we'll be all right.
Gotta pick one.
I would pick the Riddler.
Good call. Yeah, good call.
Because it'd be like,
Notice though,
I don't
Kevin
know.
just jumped right on there.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he told
You're
you.
like, did anyone?
Yeah, he gave you a good call.
Riddler. Yeah, like why are we all trying to figure it out? Maybe you just want.
Oh no, I faded it down only
Look at
because it's
Riddler
that
shot
long.
in the chest. How
Yeah.
fucked up is that? P.S. Don't ever criticize the Riddler. He's much scarier than we all give him credit for it.
He's like making up puzzles and shooting people.
They're like, how'd we get this fucking crazy Riddler fuck? They're like McElfresh. Like, way to go, Andy. Bill got shot in the chest.
Yeah, but look, he's not chanting anymore, is he? Well, that's true. That's a positive. Sick of that chanting.
I love when
when
Kevin
I
gets
wished
like
him
that.
honest, I
Yeah.
didn't realize it had a question mark gun. Well, you shut up, McElfresh. He's got question mark everything. I bet his dick shut like a question mark. Got the Frank Ocean whipping it out.
It's like, riddle me this. Right here.
Holy shit. And he's got one ball.
Yeah, it's the lower part of the punctuation mark.
Well, naturally, if I knew his dick was shaped like a question mark, I might have thought about the
Or maybe
question
he
mark
has
gun.
two, and it's an interrobang.
Now, I want to say, you went off on the
So funny.
interrobang for a good 2 minutes,
I love
too,
it.
so I had to cut that whole thing.
Shoot
You know,
that guy.
it was informative, and the show is
Jeez.
meant to inform.
Yeah,
Right.
I understood.
It's like, no, he had a fatty deposit over here. I'm fine. But it wasn't it fucked up that he pulled the gun and shoot me? I mean, who wished this guy honestly? Fuck him, McElfresh.
Why don't you're always pointing fingers. There's a lot of accusations going on these
We
days.
could have the Catwoman, and McElfresh picked Riddler.
All right.
So there we have the origin of the Riddler.
Oh, that was a good one.
I just got a tweet yesterday. Why did you pick the Riddler?
Still, after all this time, you're still getting that.
There were two other origins I really wanted to find, but it wasn't. I wanted to find the origin of what, but your shows are so darn dense.
Oh my God, I love all that.
Things just sort of appear on them. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, when did that become a thing?
Yeah, like the marketing guys.
And the marketing guys are great. The goldfish, you know. How is the goldfish?
What's that?
How is goldfish coming?
The goldfish is. I did a video of it for that Kevin posted on his Facebook.
Yes, sir.
And it was so bleak that people were like, I don't know, it makes me feel kind of sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's the joke is that
he's swimming in his own
but
poo.
you can't. If you have to explain it, it's not funny.
Well, okay, this next cut, we're going to move on to show 40. And it was around show 40 when you guys did something, and it actually inspired a friend of ours named Mark Live to do an animation of it. And during this episode, you guys do a Forrest Gump bit. And I tell you, that was the first time I ever knew that Kevin did Forrest Gump, because he does a very funny Forrest Gump as a kid. And so then we were so inspired that Mark, our friend Mark Live, did this animation, and he kind of turned it into a trailer. So I've taken the audio from that just to change things up.
Coming next summer. A story we all know.
Oh, your mama sure cares about your education, boy.
From the guy who didn't make the Matrix. And the guy who picked the Riddler that one time.
Oh, God.
I sure would like an ice cream, Mama. Wait outside for it.
You ain't having one, Mama? I'm having gum.
Your mama sure cares about your ice cream eating, boy. Mama, there's a hole in my shoe. Your mama sure cares about your shoe. Mama had sex with a lot of strangers, all so I could get ahead.
A story of one mother's love and devotion to her son.
Oh, boy. He's got can I borrow your fucking handkerchief? Why? I got pants on my neck. Your mama sure cares about your parallel parking, boy. I came to learn that Mama wasn't interested in helping me as much as she wanted to get fucked by random strangers.
Forrest Hump.
And there we have the trailer for Forrest Hump.
That was Forrest Hump.
Yes, you can find that on YouTube. Just type in Forrest Hump trailer. I'm sure it'll come right up.
I don't think it's gone
Hopefully
past...
that's what comes up.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
I don't think it's gone past the trailer, though.
No, we have they're not in... it is good, though, when you see the car moving in rhythmic, in rhythmic vibration to the humping action. I was very honored to be able to add the voiceover for that. So.
He does a very good
Very
Forrest
nice.
Gump, Kevin.
Yeah.
A young Forrest Gump.
Yes. It's all that warbliness in his voice that makes it such a hit.
Mama.
Mama. It's so funny.
Okay. Now, we had Midnight Smoke on not too long ago. And
I know he says hello because he's saying it right now in my brain.
And at the time, he's like, I said, we were setting up a show with you, and it was at the time I think it was going to be in March, but then we moved things around. And I told him, it's probably going to be a top 10 show, and at the time I said, it'll probably be, just the cuts of us from the show,
right.
Like anytime you mentioned us on the show, and then just Bane cuts.
Yeah.
Now I was half right. I was half right.
Right.
Because most of these next cuts have something to do with Bane.
It's so...
The most brilliant bit that has ever come across your show.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how funny this was to me and to Gene also, because we started this documentary and we just started hanging out with a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
And the way Bane deconstructs, I mean, that is almost every comedian we hang out with. They're all neurotic, and it's a cult. Stand-up comedian is like a cult world.
Yeah.
They have their own language and their own, and it was just so funny to me. It just, the timing in my life for that bit to happen, it was just pure brilliant. The insight that you guys give into the neuroticness of comics. And I don't know that everybody gets it, but I think it's brilliant.
That's all that matters.
Well, if we can just educate one person, then obviously we've failed.
Right.
It's not the whole idea is to educate everyone.
Right. Right.
Yes, and I don't know how Bane does that, but hey, But what it has done is it gives you a very strong live segment. That's for darn sure.
It's it's a perfect live.
Well, the thing that's crazy is, I mean, I don't know very many comedians that would do a live paid recorded show with new material like that. And Kevin is so funny as Bane that it's like a Teflon bit. Like I can do whatever joke and he can sell it. And if it doesn't get a laugh, he can play it off, and it's just the best. It's it's bulletproof.
Well, yeah, exactly. When he bombs, it's even funnier.
Yeah.
Because usually what happens is he starts to deconstruct the joke and why he bombed. And, well, without any further ado, it grew out of such a little nonchalant, non sequitur moment. And here is the origin. This one's a little long, but there was no way I could sacrifice on this one. So
if this is a diplomatic mission, then where is the ambassador? The worst James Earl Jones ever done.
That was sent in by Adrian Chagoya, a big participant online.
If this is a diplomatic mission, then where is the ambassador? God, you could totally do Bane as fucking Darth Vader.
Bane Vader.
Somebody take a Darth Vader clip and put all Bane's lines into those scenes instead. Watch it work as flawlessly. There you go, Internet. Thank you.
would shoot a man.
Yeah.
Or perhaps he's wondering why you would shoot a man instead of throwing him out of a plane when you're about to throw him out of a plane. May the Force be with you, Jedi.
It got weird and intense there for a second.
Hey, people bought into it for a second. They're like, Tom Hardy should be in the next Star Wars movie.
Yeah, but why would
using his voice from fucking?
Why would he give the Jedi blessing though?
He's being ironic. He's being like he's like the Emperor and shit like that.
May the Force be with you, Jedi.
So he's all air quotey in his blackout costume
without moving his hand.
Yeah,
without being.
He can move somebody else's hand next to him, force him to do air quotes.
I forced my prisoners to air quote for me.
Release him, Vader.
I don't want to commit to an air quote. It might not be fashionable, but if they do it for me, I can claim the credit as well if it works in the room.
See, that's where it becomes genius, right there. That's the turning point of the bit.
Public comedy.
Yes.
Just like, this is how I go after comedy status.
Did it get a laugh? No. God damn it.
It killed in Poughkeepsie.
Brilliant. Brilliant line.
I think I've overthought it. Fuck.
I knew I shouldn't have burned it on the Tonight Show.
It was so good. It was so good in Aspen.
Longing for the joke.
They laughed so much. I was told it might be because they were high from the altitude.
I think Bane would be the guy that would be like,
too smart. That was probably too smart. There's pearls before swine. Jokes. Jokes far too intelligent for the rooms there in Omaha.
Why I would give a man pearls when they would be cast before swine.
Why you work in Omaha anyway?
Testing out some road material before my next Netflix special.
I probably could have cut it off there.
That's actually a worse life that he had.
Up there.
I was once in a hellhole prison, and I'll be honest with you, it sucks worse. But I think I have a good 15 to 20 minutes of solid
still going on.
He's never gonna.
I think that was it. I love that.
Oh my God, that brings us so much joy. You have no idea. I think you probably do, because I think it brings a lot of people joy. You probably get a lot of comments.
How much mail did you get? How much mail? How many tweets after the original Bane there?
I don't know. I mean, a lot. People really responded to it. They, of course, it's just, the trick is to write that sort of mid-list Tonight Show joke.
Right.
It's kind of okay. It's not the best.
Yeah.
Which you don't really get in that one, but...
no, because that was sort of the origin.
I started to, he would be like, I was just a mid-lister submitting jokes to him so that he could, try him out on stage somewhere, and it grew from there.
You went right to episode. See, the next, they almost came in a row now. It was the next episode is 82.
Yeah, and we could not.
Which is the comedy stylings of Bane.
Right,
and this is a surprise for you, and this is a special treat.
So great.
We had a number of requests for this.
Okay.
Where people their imaginations were completely captured by Bane, after blowing up Gotham City,
the lighter.
Yeah, there was the lighter. There
Becomes a stand-up comic.
Right.
And it's more about the
Everybody
business than
count
it
the
is.
lighters.
But people are like, what would his stand-up be like? What if he did some Jay Leno-style jokes?
Oh my
So I
God.
called some friends from the from the monologue staff at Jay Leno.
Right.
And my friend John Kennedy sent me a bunch of little sweeties that I'm going to hand over to you to perform as Bane.
Get out of
You don't have to do them all. There's a lot of jokes.
Ooh, this is awesome. Let's see.
We have John Kennedy to thank for these. And Bane, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, welcome to the...
No, I'm not ready yet. I'm still backstage. I'm phoning my friend John Kennedy and asking for a few late night.
He goes right into
buffers.
character.
I know. I was
Lay
going to
some
say, he
tags
just
on me.
goes.
That's the amazing thing.
I've got 2 shows this evening, John, and I've already blown my opener. And there's some people who went to show 1 who are also going to show 2, so I could use a refresher. Yes, that's right. Poughkeepsie. Yes,
He's on the phone.
Yes.
He's on the phone right now.
I was in a bar and a man offered me his wife, but I'm pretty sure he would have picked my pockets. His name was Alec.
So that was a tag back to earlier in the show.
You've
Right.
text them to me then. Peace out.
All right, here we go.
Let me rock you with this one, Andy.
It's only the opener
One
this
of my
time.
openers. A man in Hong Kong.
He could get as far as Hong Kong because he's reading ahead.
A man in Hong Kong had to be taken to the hospital after he tried to have sex with a metal bench and got stuck. You have to be so careful with diseases these days. I understand this gentleman is now tested positive for tetanus.
No, this is my favorite, the alternates.
It is kind of weak. It plays in some of the more suburban clubs. I save that for my on-air material. When I can't go blue, that's a good tetanus joke.
It's so easy to shit on the material.
Yeah, get up here and tell some jokes yourself.
All right. Well, I'm just going to keep rolling because there's one more Bane. But if we were going to put them like in top 10 order, and like this would be the number 1 clip for me. This, without a doubt, is you guys at your funniest. And
oh wow,
it's from number it's from show number 83, and even the name alone,
What's Andy going to do from
cock
now?
tonsils, is funny as it is. Cock tonsils.
This is his funniest. Where's
But
he going to go from there?
This, to me, is the funniest cut you guys have ever done.
Okay. Let's do a little bit of pop culture ribbing, shall we? Take it out of our social matters. Make us feel fine about our weaker selves. As we watch those excel above us, perhaps the members of Motley Crue irritate you the way they irritate me. Girls, girls, girls. Yes, one of their songs, but it's also what they look like. Am I right? Am I right? I remember the first time I saw a Motley Crue video, I didn't know who I wanted to fuck more. The girls or the boys. Glam rock was very confusing. Glam metal was even worse. The hair bands. You didn't know whose mouth you were putting it in.
You were in a prison after all at the time.
You didn't care. You put on some Bon Jovi and have your cock sucked by a man. I am a supervillain. I cross all sorts of lines. You think it's just robbing banks and fucking around with the likes of Batman? I've laid with men. I'm not ashamed to admit it at all. I have came in the hands of another man.
Oh, come on. Don't come out here and tell some jokes.
Not coming out. There's nothing to come out of. No closets, no shame. An orgasm is an orgasm. I don't care where it comes from. Pink or brown, shit's all good in the dark.
Oh my God.
That was pure brilliance.
Do you remember that, Andy?
I do remember that.
Oh my God.
It did remind me for some reason, and it's not even anything like that bit, but the time that I laughed the hardest in the podcast, I laughed so hard that I broke a vessel in one of my eyes.
Oh my God.
And it was when Kevin did King Friday from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
As one of the kings on Game of Thrones.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I do remember that now. What?
That was...
Unfortunately, that's not in our episode numbers. I wish I had known that.
See, we had to pick Andy's top 10.
As you could tell, I'm very obsessed with the whole Bane thing.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
Oh yes, but who isn't?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and also I tried to pick to show a growth in the bit because it was definitely something that grew. I mean, it came out of a very organic beginning where Kevin was just like, hey, you could replace Darth Vader and Bane.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you guys have got like hours of material.
Jay Leno used to always say, you come up with a new bit and you show it to him and he'd say, well, so they figure out we're doing it over and over again. Let's just do it over and over again.
That's right.
It's you need to be able to do that, especially in late night. But on the podcast, there is a lot of, like none of it was written. And I had Kennedy write those jokes because I was like, I think I would write just Bane-specific jokes. And Kennedy was like, oh, let me write them because he's a big listener.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
That's fun.
But you eventually broke down and did start writing them, didn't you?
Yeah, I did them after that. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Those jokes were terrible. I can do this.
Yeah. That sounds more like you, Andy.
Well, that's exactly what happened. And then finally, you guys got to debut it on Show 86.
Yes.
Live at Acme Comedy Club.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, where was that? Where's Acme Comedy Club?
In Minneapolis.
Oh, Minneapolis. Okay.
So that wasn't your first live show. You've done a few prior to this.
Yeah, we were at the Comedy Store, and then we went to the Ice House in Pasadena for a number of shows.
Yeah, and you were doing a lot of Edumake experiments, but it seems
that was our live bit. Was that we would do an experiment every show, and it turns out there's not a lot of experiments you can do that are super podcast friendly.
Yeah,
they're not that. Most of them require a lot of visuals, so we had to kind of move on from that. And finding Bane as our go-to guy was just
it was a natural fit. Yeah, it works so well, and it gives you a good rallying closer. And so that's actually what I picked for this one was the closer. So here we go.
I'm going to rock you with my closer now.
Okay, can't wait.
Trying out material for my Netflix special, The Bane of Comedy. I hope it's as watched as the Eliza Schlesinger special. That shit was funny. Here we go. A 70-year-old woman in India just gave birth to her first child.
Wow, 70 years old, and she gave birth to her first child. That's amazing. That's very old for a person to give birth to a child, especially the first one.
And that's why I picked this card.
I meant McMahon in you.
Thanks for the assist, Gretzky. So as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, a 7-year-old woman in India just gave birth to her first child. Boy, you forget to wear a rubber just once.
Swing.
Or you can watch her whole story on MTV's...
I love that. He breaks.
You can watch her whole story on MTV India's 69 and Pregnant.
69 is a funny number.
It's actually easier for her to raise the kid because she produces powdered breast milk.
That is, to me, that's the capper.
Conversely, The baby's teeth are coming in just as her teeth are coming out. She's going straight from nursing at the breast right to the nursing home. But the good news is that she's had lots of practice changing diapers.
Oh, really?
On her husband. I won't file it. I'll fucking kill you. This is very hard. I deserve your respect. Standing in front of people saying things for amusement, it takes courage. Heckling takes no courage whatsoever. Is the doorway to the demise, young demise, at the hands of a supervillain. I'll make you suck my dick, son.
Wow.
That was great.
All right, we get a little reprieve from Bane with this next cut. We got two more, and there's another thing that I wanted to kind of open playing you, but I think we're going to take a quick break.
All right, we want to take a moment to talk about Death Wish Coffee. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and get over to deathwishcoffee.com. And there you can buy the strongest coffee known to man without a prescription.
The world's strongest coffee ever.
Yes, as proudly displayed on my wife's sweatshirt over there.
Yes, on my body,
Yes.
on my mug,
Yes,
on
it's
my
on my mug.
K-cups. Not...
Yes, and you'll know them by their telling sign of the skull and crossbones that
It's
tells
so
you
good.
exactly what you're in for. It's that used to be the international symbol for poison, but now it is the symbol for good damn coffee.
It's awesome. Without milk, with milk, you don't really need it because it's strong.
But
it's
not bitter?
Not bitter. So you don't even need milk. You don't even need sugar, but you can add it if you'd like. It's just really, really the perfect, strongest, most awesome coffee.
Become a junkie of Death Wish. DeathWishCoffee.com. Thank you very
Enjoy
much.
it.
And be sure to get 10% off your order at www.deathwishcoffee.com when you use the code ThatMan. That's one word, conjunctified, all caps. ThatMan for 10% off your orders at deathwishcoffee.com.
I want to take this time to mention to you www.audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. That's right, www.audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. That's one word, conjunctified. Go there, sign up for your free 30-day free trial. Sign up, get a free book, a free audio book, because you don't have to go through no tedious reading. You don't have to turn no fucking pages. You don't have to do any of that bullshit. You get in your car, you put on your headphones, and you are listening to a book. You're taking a magical journey into a fictitious land. You're expanding your mind, all when you're stuck in traffic. Fucking amazing. Audiobooks. These are the wave of the future. And you can get in for free for 30 days. A free trial. And when you get your free trial, you can download a copy of Tough Shit by our Savior, Kevin Smith. That's right. Our Lord and Savior, Kevin Smith, has left words for us to follow in our lives. And we can get it for free just by signing up to audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. That's right. audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. Thank you. Please sign up. You'll be very happy you did.
There was a story that you tell about when you saw the movie Trainspotting.
My wife Johanna and I, when Dashiell came, he was. We had not left him alone. Her grandmother came to help out, and then her sister came, and then my mom came, and it was really the first time that we were going to actually go and do something without, having the baby in tow and having somebody that we knew look after him. And so we met this wonderful young woman, and everyone's like, she's the greatest babysitter. You're so lucky that you can get her. And she came over to the house. She was in the neighborhood when we paged her, because this is back when pagers were still in use.
Yes.
And she came over, and she was the sweetest thing in the world. And Dashiell immediately loved her, and we were like, oh, it's on. We can start to live our lives again. And so it's time to go to the movie. And we're like, okay, Trainspotting, that's going to be the movie. That is, everyone says it's fantastic, and we just can't wait to go. And we open the door when the doorbell rings, and she's dressed head to toe like Xena, warrior princess, and like with a full sword and everything. And it was beautiful, and it was also like this. We're now consciously deciding to leave our child with this woman.
Yes.
And it feels a little weird. Like,
are you expecting Raiders?
So then we go to the movie, and there's a significant scene in the movie where, I'm sorry about spoilers in case anyone hasn't seen it, but there is a child who dies of neglect in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Johanna and I looked at each other, and we're like, we left our son, our baby, who is that baby's age, with Xena, warrior princess. And we jumped up out of our seats and ran all the way back to our apartment, exhausted and panting, and like, we just, you know what? It's all good. We just thought we'd just come home a little early, and we paid her for the full night out of guilt. And off she went to Xena, warrior princess night. But she ended up being our regular babysitter. It was only one time that she dressed up as Xena, warrior princess.
Oh, I would have made that a requirement from then on. I'd be like, why aren't you in the Xena?
And we were sort of like, if something were to happen, it might be nice to have somebody who's got a sword on them.
Yeah, she could fend off, Raiders or Vikings or any other sort of, trash that comes by. Now, we had a gentleman on whose name is Scott Holden. Now, Scott Holden is a comic book artist, and he actually holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the most superheroes on a single cover of Deadpool. He also...
He's from New Jersey.
Yeah, if you remember Joe Greshko, who I used to host Bone Crushing Juggernaut with, he's a friend of Joe as well. So we had him on the show, and he was telling us about his Chasing Amy experience. And I just had to play this to you, so here we go.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
Chasing Amy? Or was it
Mallrats? So Chasing Amy came out, and it was really kind of strange because I lived downtown. I lived on Houston Street, and I'd just been there was a bar on Houston Street across from my building that was it was a lesbian bar. I forget the name of it. It's like Kitty Cat or something like that.
Oh my God, it's like right out of fucking, it's right out of the movie.
Yeah, and what happened was I'd been in that bar for Xena night. A friend of mine dragged me there, and that was fun. But it was just a lesbian bar. Like at the door, the bouncer was like, "This place isn't for you," and I was like, "Don't worry."
Yeah.
And
so the thing that jumped out at me was the Xena night thing.
That was the bar.
See, I knew it.
Said it was going.
I had a feeling.
Oh my God!
As soon as he said that, I'm like, "Holy shit!" I think that's the same bar that Andrew McElfresh's baby, and it's all around the same time too.
It was. That's crazy.
Because he's talking about around the time Chasing Amy
It's
came
almost
out.
like we were there.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So I had to play that clip to you because it was just like one of those moments where it's like, wow, what a small world.
Mm-hmm.
It is a small world.
Very much so.
I think that, and I think I can say with relative certainty that there weren't two bars doing the Xena night. And
I would say that's a safe bet. Moving on, we got two more clips we're going to go through here. And this next one, all I can say is, it changed my world for a little bit. For a few days. I was, walking a little bit above air.
Aww.
I really was. This thing, we recently had on Master Debaters, and Ralph Garman had been on their show, and he has a kid who's into Batman, and so Ralph Garman did the voice of Batman and made a tape for his kid, and his kid's like 4.
Right.
And when his kid,
I saw that video.
Isn't that adorable?
His face, I can totally identify with in every way. When I heard this clip, I was that kid. So here we go.
The second Y is sent in by
ThatMan on Fatman.
Oh, right on. Scott Holden.
Scott Holden, yep.
The fact he knew my name.
Scott, even though we've touched on this in different podcasts.
Now, hang on. From here on out is actually the most... This clip is actually most like what you guys actually do on the show.
He wants to know the definitive answer. With it being a movie that is now out of theaters, what?
No,
what?
it's still fucking.
It was still in theaters when you asked.
Yeah.
People love that clown, dude. They're like, the scariest thing I've ever seen is that Pennywise, the dancing clown.
I forgot that you like to hang out with super old people.
That was my impression of Jason Mewes.
Oh, really?
Pennywise, the dancing clown.
That's what he's like in real life. Your impressions are dead on. Me?
Sounds like that. Okay. All right. So what? What do they want to know about Pennywise?
They want to know, why are clowns so scary to people?
I mean, false faces and makeup, and also fake expressions, forced expressions painted on, like a lot of red at work. Maybe that calls to mind blood and demon faces, even though they're happy, but still something.
I think Kevin's dialing it in here.
Am I in the ballpark?
That kind of, I guess, contributes to it. I think there's more pointed.
A lot of lighter
words. And I guess if you reshape those words into a proper sentence.
And if the ballpark was as big as the Earth, you would be in it.
Why? Why do we have clowns?
Well, there's a lot of things. One, a lot of people think it's because most famous clowns, emulate in some way a hobo, a homeless person, a forgotten man, a drunk, a souse, a sot. They have, a fake, makeup beards. They have a big red nose. They have teardrops. They have clothes that have patches in them that don't fit them.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never see I'm a fucking paralegal clown. I'm a convenience store worker clown.
There you go. There's a little example of what you guys actually do.
Okay.
The weakest of all questions, of course, but what are you gonna do?
No, it was a good question, and the thing is, it's that's the fun thing about the why section, is that other podcasts and other forms of entertainment will get an expert, and you ask the expert a question, but in our case, we get somebody who really doesn't know the answer. We ask him.
You wing it.
And you answer questions from your listeners.
Yeah, we're trying to get together. Kevin is so busy these days. He's doing...
Oh, my gosh.
Now he's directing the Goldbergs. He's just everywhere.
He just finished
But I think he's enjoying
Flash.
himself.
He just finished
He
Flash.
did a Flash episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He's doing the History Channel gig.
Yeah.
The IMDb stuff.
That show came out great.
Oh, my God. I
Did you
loved
guys watch
it.
the episode?
Loved it.
Yeah.
They've taped a few episodes, and they basically show the movie, and then he kind of runs a round table on, with a bunch of experts. So
Love it.
in that case, they had the guys that won the Academy Award for set decoration and production design, and he's just Kevin is, he does prepare material for that show, but for our show, everything he does is, as you say, he's just winging it, and he can do both. He's really really
even when
talented.
you
nuts.
Even when you try to set some sort of we're going to do it this way, he just doesn't do it.
But he's achieved his goal. He
really has.
He is getting paid for being him.
For being himself.
Exactly.
That is the goal, I would think, of most everyone.
He's cracked the code. He
really has.
Yeah. He's also doing an IMDb show where he's the show runner, isn't he?
Well, the IMDb, you mean like the shows where he's like at Comic-Con? He's going to do an IMDb show from the Oscars, too.
Yeah, he's doing, that's why he had to get his haircut.
That IMDb was actually doing their interview show as a regular thing. They were going to have regular hosts, and he was going to be running it.
Well, I don't know.
I thought that was the IMDb thing I read recently.
It seems perfectly likely. So I wouldn't...
We'll have to get him on and
Yeah,
ask
I'm very
him.
interested about that because, exactly. I want it because
We have
Kevin,
so many questions.
Kevin
sir.
always says
Kevin.
that he can't direct a big superhero movie. I really think that in light of his TV work, and if he's doing show running work, there's no reason he does not have the chops to direct a big movie because he's going to be turning it over to departments.
He could. It's just the time, too, though, to devote to it.
So just my theory.
I'm with you. I think that he could do anything he set his mind to.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, the things that he talks about, the things that he shares and the podcast, and he doesn't really, he lives that.
Yeah.
He doesn't really say it. He lives it. He says, go out and do it because he's done it. He says it from experience.
What is the new show you're working? So you're working on? You just finished that? Is that like?
But it's not the worst. Like at the Keenan Ivy Wayne show, which.
You all right?
I dropped the phone. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Wow.
I loved working on that show, even though it was like many crazy hours and it was hard to do. We got to do a lot of really fun stuff and spread our wings a little bit. And so when it came down to when the show got canceled, it was a Buena Vista television show. It was on the Fox affiliates, and there was a lot of overhead to the show, a lot of producers and people had a piece of the show. So they just, they looked at the quarter and they're like, man, let's cancel it.
Oh,
and the way that we found out is we showed up for work and all of our stuff was sitting on the sidewalk next to the building in banker's boxes.
Oh, wow.
Andy.
Wow.
Andy, no.
How would you feel about that?
That hurts.
You gotta, it's hard to be a creative person when you have the sense that at any point somebody can be like, hey, you want to drop by my office for a second? Get all your stuff and get out.
Yeah. It's ironic, that people that want to be the truth that you find out is if you want to be an actor, what you really have to be good at is rejection. Because that's what you get more times than you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
God, that's
it's what
horrible.
Gamblers with addictions are addicted to. They get addicted to losing because there's this whole cascade of different
levels of it.
Actually, I thought what they were addicted to is that it's that moment right before the reveal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like before that card flip.
That anticipation.
Yeah, that second right before it.
Yeah, they crave that feeling.
I'm sure that contributes to the whole business.
Yeah,
but they know they're going to lose, so no.
That's why I didn't gamble.
The visual.
That's why I've never been a big gambler.
Can I just tell you the visual of the box on the corner of is so depressing. I had a visual when you told me that. When you said that hurt my heart.
Yeah.
Who the heck does that to someone? I hate people. What
That's
assholes?
how you really feel.
Seriously.
Gene has just been laid off.
About a month ago, I was laid off, and it was like the same.
You're touching sore stuff.
So you know what? You know
the
how
bruise was still fresh.
Yes.
it was, but you know what though?
Well, you know what would cheer us all up? I think at this point, a little Bane.
That's what we need.
And this is from your most latest show. I don't know what it is about your last episode, but it's there's something about it. It's got a great rhythm, a great feel. I must have listened to that thing 3 or 4 times, and I had to listen to it again to get this cut. So
5 times.
Yeah. And so here we go.
Tonight we have somebody I'm sure you all know from his break-in television broadcasts over the years. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Bane.
You're just laughing at the intro.
Your pity applause don't amuse me. I've come to be funny, ladies and gentlemen. I've come to bring the comedy. You may laugh at any given moment. These jokes I'm testing out for my new Netflix special. I don't have a deal yet, but I know a guy who knows someone who worked there once. So hopefully they'll be at my showcase at Largo. Here we go. Andrew.
Yes, Mr. Bane.
Did you know that scientists at Duke University have made the first functioning human muscle cells from skin cells?
They've taken skin cells, just ordinary skin cells, and they've turned them into muscle cells in humans?
Yes.
The setup.
These doctors make my skin crawl. Literally. I have an alternative punchline.
This one's good, though. This one's good, though. Duh.
So remember we were talking about the Duke University scientists.
Yes. Still fresh in memory,
made
sir.
the first functioning human muscle cells from skin cells.
I got that one?
If I want to turn skin into muscle, I just look at the Victoria's Secret catalog.
And there we have the
Bane.
10th cut of the final. That is a great episode of the
So
show.
great.
Well, thank you for listening. It seems like I feel like I got to step up my game if you're going to start listening to these things 4 times.
You bring so much joy.
Actually, I have to at least listen to each episode twice because they are very dense.
You'll miss something.
Yeah. It is not hard to miss something.
Yes, unfortunately, on second listening, you'd be like, "Oh, Andy just did another pun. Oh, that was a pun I didn't hear the first time around."
But those are good because then you find those. It's like, wow, slam dunk that I missed.
They're brilliant.
Yeah, but it's really a slam dunk. If you call a pun a slam dunk, it's like one of those little tykes net height. Like it's not like I'm out there on an NBA regulation court.
Yeah.
Pretty low hurdle.
I think one of my favorite stories that you've told was about Kevin, where you were holding up jokes for him, and he wasn't really sure what to do.
Oh yeah, that was the first time we shot together at the Herkimer Diamond Mine in near Syracuse in Mohawk, New York, and he's interviewing this old dude because Herkimer diamonds are just they're the crystals that they make like watch crystals out of.
Okay.
And this family-owned mine. It's an open mine. It's not down in the ground, not underground. And so people come and you can pay for the day. You can pay like $30, and then you can go look for these crystals. And so there's an old dude, and he's made his living doing that every day for like 50 years. And he's just the most cantankerous old cracked skin, sneer on his face. And Kevin is talking to him, and I'm writing him jokes and holding him up. And Kevin looks over and laughs at the joke and then goes back to his interview. And so we finally cut, and I'm like, you're supposed to do the jokes. And he goes, oh, that makes perfect sense. I just thought you were being distracting.
Yeah.
And then he starts doing the jokes, and then it was just a weird thing. And he's like, that night he said, listen, I wasn't being an idiot. I just literally have never performed material that somebody else has written.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, that is so cute.
But now it seems as though you've come full circle because you're actually writing a movie together and filming it.
Yeah, that's the Kilroy was here.
Yes.
And our Kilroy, the actor Justin Kuslin, he's on this season's Homeland. He plays that huge, enormous guy.
Oh, yes.
Sneak previews. So.
Oh.
Who the David Klein is.
So it's very exciting. We're very happy for our Kilroy. But yeah, I went in Florida.
Yeah,
I shot last year. I did the first.
David Klein does shoot for Homeland, doesn't he? Yeah. So it's like crossing two of Kevin's worlds, two Rubicons.
Yes. Yeah. Kevin does know some folks on that show. So we shot the first stuff. It was a full episode, and then Kevin went down with Jordan, Muse's wife, who is his producer, and they shot, right after the first of the year, they shot a second episode and some interstitial stuff that tells the story of who Kilroy is. And then we've got one more shoot left, and we'll start posting and have a movie.
Oh, my God,
dang, we're making
so
movies.
Exciting.
And you're also working with Robert Kurtzman, right?
Yes. Bob is the legendary special effects, creature effects, and, makeup guy. And he's amazing. And I love, one great thing about hanging out with Bob is he's done everything. He's literally done everything.
Yes.
He's worked, he wrote From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, we've had him on the show.
Did you know that, we were talking and he just brought up something and he goes, oh, you probably didn't know, but I did all the operations in ER.
Oh my God, did he? I didn't know that.
Well, we know he did Marky Mark's dick, too.
He did Marky Mark's penis.
Yes, he did, and they had to remove material to make it more believable.
I remember prepping for having him on the show and going through his IMDb, and it's as long as your fucking arm, and it's like any of my favorite movies are on there. It's his credit list is amazing, and he did something for us that we'll never forget, because back in Memorial Day, what was it, like 2 years ago now?
About 2015.
Yeah, it was funny. We had him on the show very recently, and then our son accidentally
2016.
took his fingertips off in a lawnmower. And
no.
Yeah. It was horrible. It was like just one of those.
He's fine. He's good.
Yeah, now he's fine. He's adjusted
amazing.
And, yeah. But at the time, because Robert Kurtzman had been on the show recently and we were still in contact, like, he heard about it. And I had started calling Cameron the Onion Knight.
The Onion Knight from the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, in the hospital to kind of alleviate the tension and everything, and try and make jokes of. And the Onion Knight in the Game of Thrones had all his fingertips removed. Robert Kurtzman sent a bag.
Sir Davos.
Yeah, sent a bag with like the seal on it and fingertip.
Yeah,
finger,
he made
finger bones
fingers for him
in it and a little plaque and sent it. It was really.
Oh my
really
God.
cool.
And Cameron,
That's amazing.
And Cameron knew he was, and he like read up on it, and he's seen the movies. But I'm like, Cameron, do you really know who this man is? This is like pretty amazing.
Yeah. So he gave us finger bones for our son after losing his
What
fingers.
an awesome guy.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was another way to ease the pain of this horrible thing that had happened to.
Yeah.
Cameron.
That seems to have affected us way more than our son.
Yeah.
So.
In retrospect, yeah. I can really get PTSD when I think about that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done. You can't. No, every parent will know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's, I don't know, it's just too.
And we also found out like who did what that day. Like, I literally watched Gene go from what's going on to absolutely calm.
Yeah. So apparently,
while I was going the other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think that's also like a fight or flight or.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll go look for the fingers. I think that'll be a bigger help.
Oh, God, this is so scary.
Going into battle mode has its own drawbacks. You can certainly, you kind of pay for it later. You realize just how much you had to put away to get there,
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Like one of the producers on Chris's show is missing his most of his middle finger on one hand from a lawnmower accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, if you look at Cameron's fingers, it's like his three main fingers, his index, his middle, and his ring are all the same length.
Yeah. But to anyone who meets him, that's just going to be him. So it's not like it's anything that's going to be new really to anybody.
Yeah. So he lost the tips of the ring and the
middle.
Yeah.
Middle, yes. Thank you.
Wow. How did we get here?
I don't know.
So
it's science.
It is science.
Yeah, I remember because we had found the fingertips, we brought them along, and the doctor's like, well, the problem is that a lawnmower is not a precision cutting instrument.
Yeah.
It's more of a crushing wound.
Oh, you're killing me. Now I got to call my kids.
You do. Call them and...
Well, thank you for spending so much time with us and for all the craziness of getting this together. I'm sorry I didn't know that the internet was going to break on us today.
Well, and I know
I'm not going to blame the internet on you.
And I know that isn't there going to be a live Edumacation coming up?
We have two coming up. We have on the 12th of March, we will be back at Scum and Villainy.
Nice.
Of course, the ad just hit Facebook, and they cropped out the S, so it says "Come and Villainy," and I just really don't want to overpromise. It's not that.
Now we've had.
Say, Andy, you've really grown since the first episode.
No, I have not, and now I'm shrinking again.
Did you enjoy the Scum and Villainy bar?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you can't take a bad picture. Like, I don't know if you saw any of the pictures, but a lot of people posted them, and it's just, I need that top light. I've got this whole George Lucas neck thing working, and it's nice to have it, have it be in shadow. If possible.
I love JC. So
he's a great
I
guy.
love that bar, and we have to make it out there.
We can't wait to come over there and see.
Oh yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it if you guys could come.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try.
And then we're also going to be in San Francisco on the 15th. March 15th, we'll be at the Punchline.
Nice.
Yeah,
now, have you been there before?
That is where the publisher is for the book. And they are very excited to bring some folks. I get to meet folks, and hopefully, the thing is, it's like I don't think I've enjoyed any job more than writing that book. It is so much fun to sit and do we originally started to make them like blurbs, but it turned out to be better to tell it like stories. So the deal that I made, of course, being me, I delivered more than twice as many words just so that I could tell it in story form, but they were very happy with the way it came out.
Oh, that's great.
So we're hoping I get to, because that's like the best part of writing is being able to tell a story. And hopefully I'll get to write another book.
How about this? Are you going to do an audiobook?
That was the question that they want to try to figure out, because it's not really the business they're in. They do guidebooks. The parent company is a big magazine publisher. They publish Popular Science, for example. And so they just don't have, that's not one of the pathways for the stuff they market. But they were like, this book would actually work like that. So let's see. It's also the first book.
Yeah.
I have this claim to fame. It's the first book they published that has a dirty word in it.
Ooh,
Andy,
wow. You're working
I'm so
in the blue.
proud
It's kind of
you.
sweary. It's kind of a PG-13 book.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you.
You're working in the blue.
So, when you leave it on the back of the toilet, make sure it's in the master bedroom and not where the kids can find it.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't think we have to worry here, but
That was to your listeners.
Yeah, because some of them have little babies.
And they can order that on Amazon, correct?
That's right. It's the Edumacation book. It's the only book that's spelled Edumacation that has a picture of me and Kevin Smith on the cover.
See, it would be so good if you could put it out in audio, especially since your listenership is podcast. I mean, that's what they want. They want to hear you.
I know. So it's Kevin wrote the foreword. It's called Edumacation, Amazing Cocktail Party Science to Impress Your Friends. And the thing is, a lot of people are like, did you write a book about making cocktails? I'm like, no. Cocktail party science is a term that refers to just fun facts and other things to spark conversation.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Nothing that you can actually verify at any point.
Well, you can. I already have had. I actually did a section for the Joker's Wild. I did a whole bunch of questions that I took from the book, and the researcher's like, these two facts are wrong. I'm like, okay. Well, read the afterword in the book, and you'll see. I'm like, the whole point of science and scientific research and reportage on science is that it's going to keep changing.
Yeah.
You're never going to end up with just exactly what the story is. A lot happens in that room. There's barking dogs, there's guys smoking weed. It's just,
and it just brings.
And really, the most notes I get from the most tweets I get is, "You started telling us this thing, and then you got distracted. What's the fact?"
Yeah.
I'm like, that's your takeaway? All right.
Oh my god! And I'm just like, thank you. It's so fucking hilarious.
As a podcaster, I've learned a lesson. Unless it's something like really needs to be corrected, or like I would never tell anybody how to run their show, what to do, how to be funny, how to not be funny. It's just pointless because it doesn't matter. I mean, all you're going to do is piss off Kevin.
They wouldn't have any Eduma corrections, though, then, on the show.
Exactly.
Or Eduma,
I know. Well,
Eduma enhancements.
He does not like the correction.
The Eduma.
It.
Yeah, but aren't the enhancements just another way of a correction?
You got to keep the format. Don't bend there,
That's
please,
so
sir.
Brilliant.
Because the format.
I told him that I have to promise him now. I'm like, hey, we're getting together. He's like, what kind of show are we doing? Like, we'll do a Lucy. We'll do a Lucy.
No.
One that doesn't have a format. And he's like, okay, all right, okay.
Those are good as one-offs.
Like
but
everything else in his life is formatted. The poor guy needs
No,
a
I
little
think it's the other way around
loosey-goosey.
because all his other shows are unformatted. It's nice to have a show that actually has a format.
Yeah, I know, but like his legs.
I agree. I like the format. I'm a format guy.
Yeah,
but
yeah, nowadays if you start a podcast, you better have a format because like just freeform, you can't. You're just
that's the T-shirt. Forget that other T-shirt.
If you have a podcast, you better have a format. Forget that. That's a new movie. Forget about that. That's
Scott
a new.
Holden there.
That's a new movie title. Forget
Wow,
that.
That was funny. You guys are funny. Wow, go figure.
Oh, Andy.
That was funny. I think I will put that on a T-shirt.
That's a great.
You fuckers.
Andy McElfresh. Andy McElfresh once said.
Scott, the shirts aren't moving that well because you're basically telling everybody that doesn't have a formatted podcast to eat shit. What's that about?
I don't want to sell the shirts, Andy. I don't want to wear them. I think it cheapens my act.
Bane callback, thank you.
Oh my God.
And
Alrighty.
Wherever you go, there you are.
that's true. A little Stephen Wright for you.
Sir, thank you so much for coming on the show again.
And thank you for your patience with the Skype and the
Oh,
phone.
thank you guys.
It's been fun for us.
For listening to the shows so much to be able to pull those clips. It was very generous of you.
You have.
Well, you're very generous as well.
Yeah, there's like a certain crowd that loves the show,
and there's a give and take, and we appreciate all that you guys do, and you don't even realize half of it, really.
We got a lot of good guys, and you know what? I got to thank those guys and you for like writing good questions and giving suggestions, because if somebody, like, I could sit there and think all day long, but when somebody says this is what I want to see, it actually makes the show more interesting, because one person's opinion of what they want is usually a lot of people's.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm just glad that you opened it up to people. Like, it's the first of Kevin's shows that is so participant based. I mean, Hollywood Babylon does have audience participation, but it's still sort of nightclubby. You definitely pull in from us.
Well, and there's something about hearing your Twitter handle on the podcast,
it's a thrill.
Kevin engaging on the name and kind of goofing around sometimes.
Oh my God.
But it's just, I don't know. There's something about that just makes your day, your week, your year, your month, or whatever.
It's like I told Ralph. Like, I remember they were at that home show, and they didn't reference my name, but Kevin pulled a tweet. He was like, I remember reading a tweet that said, on this show, Kevin is like that and Mosier's like, but I'm like, oh my God, he's pulling from my tweet. He remembers my tweet.
Yeah.
Like, I was so, like, I was so thrilled. I remember I was actually out walking for exercise, and I was jumping up and down on the hilltop like Rocky.
Right.
I was so excited. So it really does.
Well, we're lucky. I mean, with this podcast, we get so few haters. I know I'm jinxing myself, but people, like, if somebody writes in something shitty, like, all you guys get on there and tell him to go fuck himself. It's like, wow.
True.
Well, yeah.
Nice.
There you go. It's nice for someone to have your back.
And we also have, like, when we hear someone else's name, we get excited for the person. So everyone gets excited for each other. It's definitely a family type of...
I just know I can't... It's hard for me not to say epimisode.
Epimisode. And that's not an easy thing to say, either.
Like saxophone.
Wow, you're having sax in your phone?
Yeah.
What was that?
We're having sax in our phone.
Yeah. Phone sax.
Good Lord. Well, it's quiet time. It's Sunday evening. You guys can do what you like.
Yeah.
Well, it is 9 o'clock. It is 9 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yes. So it's a good time to call it quits.
It's a very good time.
All right. Well, thank you again, and I hope to talk to you very soon.
And good luck with the Bucks, sir.
Well, thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And there you have Edumacation Andy, Season 5 debut. Woohoo! All right, we know that that was a really long guest segment, so we don't want to keep you longer than need be, other than to say, we appreciate you guys sticking around with us for what has been 4 years. We very much look forward to this year and then next year saying, yay, it's 5 years, bitch. I don't know what it is about 5 years, but just like it'll be.
Yeah, but there's always something special about that.
Yeah. And it's kind of tricky, though, even though we're in season 5.
Yeah.
It's not officially 5 years because of the way numbers go, because we didn't have season 0. Right. I always say that, but hey, what am I going to do? It's like I'm apologizing. Maybe I won't say it after we have 5 years anymore, because then I'll be like, yeah, we got 5 years, bitch.
And thank you all for your support and for all the Patreon people. And if you'd like to help us on Patreon, you can go to our website.
Yes. Yes, you can support us on Patreon as well. Especially all you, if you're following, if you somehow found us through Ralph, the Ralph Report through Patreon.
Yeah, that's kind of been
we're there too. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you very much. We look forward to another season of awesome shows and awesome guests and awesome Kevin stuff, especially with him above ground. We're so happy that he did not die.
Oh, Kevin, we love you.
Thank you, Kevin, so much for not dying.
We love you, Kevin.
We could not live in a world without Kevin. So all right, we're done.
Well, and remember, Jay Miller's Happiness is this Monday.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you might
we
see
will
us
be
there.
going.
Yeah, sure. You might see us there.
It's the first. Yeah, you might.
I don't want to say any promises.
You might see
We
us
always
there.
have this problem.
We always
like,
have issues.
Like Gene may pass out or just might not make it. Anyway.
So anyway, it's always the first Monday of the month at the Pit in New York City.
Okay.
Check it out.
All right. And no one else has told you today. Let me be the one to say it. You're both smart and good. And we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Lying on the barren floor and staring out in space, looking for an angel smile and praying for some faith. Thoughts running through my mind and filling it with fear. Is there something else out there, and just why are we here? Then I see the world will turn and we must be its guide. Crazy dreams and nonsense schemes, dawn comes we must reply. Powers from our mother earth will blow us to our knees. All our souls to bind as one, to join us if you please, if you please. Hidden moments one by one and smirking like a thief. Sleeping through another night and deepening our peace. Genesis and matter's wake is coming from our sun. Living in this very moment, for this moment's done. But now I see the dawn will come and we are all its guide. Crazy dreams and nonsense schemes, the Godhead in the sky. Powers from our mother earth, it's all we'll ever be. All our souls to bind as one, come join us if you please, if you please.
Grace!
Grace! Fuck me and make me forget we got a stupid kid. Coming, Don.
Haters have got to hate, like the douches have to douche.
Powers from our mother earth will blow us to our knees. Twisting, turning, minds are burning. Join us if you please.
This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes that the world saw for humanity.
And now I see that I am just beginning its demise. Flashing bits of comic light that vanish from the skies. Powers from our mother earth is all we'll ever be. All our souls to bind as one. Come join us if you please. If you please. If you please. If you please.
There he is. It's that man standing over Blood Alley Square, protecting us all. Go get him, that man.